All right, thank you for tuning in today to the CloudSurfing podcast. My name is Jake Ryder, of course, and you fucking know that. Today we have we have a fucking guest today, which is pretty sweet. First one, this is actually the guy who also convinced me to start doing a podcast, so it's pretty fucking cool. He's the first one to be the guest on it too. First of all, I know you already listened to those stupid advertisements, but one more. Thanks, Blaine Durward, for the incredibly discounted rate for the podcast's first ever official logo. It'll be launched on Friday. If you or anyone you know is in need of graphic designs or of any motorsports needs, or if you just want to see his fucking sick art, you can just go to his Instagram, which is at Blaine Durward. He has all of his shit listed there. He's the guy who made that sick Fighting Hawks logo for UND that the university then turned down and then spent $50,000 on some gay logo instead. What can you do? All right, fuck ads. Today's podcast is fucking special. First guest spot on my show, and I couldn't think of really a better person to kick it off than this guy. He's a drone pilot. He's a regular pilot. He's a fucking hunter. He's an outdoors guy. He likes all that shit. Deployed a couple times, and he's like, what? You're not even, are you 25 yet?
Nope.
24 years old?
24.
24 years fucking old, and he's been all over the place doing all this shit. So, welcome, Nick Norby. Norby, please just introduce yourself. Let everyone know who you are.
Hey, thanks, buddy. Yeah, I guess like you said, kind of had a fun experience so far. Basically, I guess a little bit about the background for myself is kind of got wrapped up in the aviation community and caught the bug for flying. Graduated from high school and decided, what am I going to do next? And applied at a few different universities, looking towards the aviation kind of field of work. Ended up selecting the University of North Dakota, which is, of course, where you and I met. Best thing in the whole world. So super pumped about that, did all my flight training there and everything. They were really kind of promoting sort of the unmanned side of aviation at the time, pumping it up and everything, kind of showing that it's been around for a bit, but still relatively new to the industry and everything like that, as far as, on the civilian side of the workforce for it. So kind of checked out a couple classes on some of the unmanned kind of stuff and was pretty interested in it. And I thought, what's the hurt in trying to do manned and unmanned aviation to widen the horizon there to as far as opportunities and experiences and everything like that. So kind of got into that, got my degree in aviation, Bachelor of Science in Aeronautics, majored in unmanned aircraft systems, kind of took me through all the flight courses, went through my commercial training, got my instrument, multi-engine, all that stuff, instrument rating, and then my CFI as well, Certified Flight Instructor. So all that kind of helped me get to the job that I have now to lead me to where I'm at. It's been pretty fun so far.
So, before college, how much flying did you do before college?
Funny story. Zero.
Zero flying.
Zero flying. I have no idea how I knew that's what I wanted to do. Because it's one of those things, it's not just like it's not like an office job, right? It's like people that want to fly, they want to do it because they love it.
Right.
Like it's really weird. I don't know how it worked out for me that way or whatever, but I never flew once in my entire life until I was in the aviation program at college. Not even on like an airliner, not even Delta, United, anything like that. I never ever was off the ground except for like a roller coaster.
Okay, so just to clarify, never off the ground one time before coming to college, and you're like, you know what? $100,000 fucking dollars. So let's get in this, dude. That's wild. And yet, here's what's so crazy, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on too, because you didn't fly before you came to college. You didn't even know if you were afraid of fucking heights, and you were like, you know what? This looks fucking dope. I'm gonna commit myself to this. And what I think, here's what I've learned from meeting you since I've met you, is that no one's born good at anything at all. No one's born just a fucking great, oh my God, look how good I am. Like, doesn't happen. Like, we have friends, obviously. We both know people who've gotten their parents to pay for everything for them through the way. Parents together. They had a great family with the fucking dog. They had it all, dude. They had, oh, dad's a pilot, so I'm going to be a third generation pilot, blah, blah, blah. Not you, motherfucker. So it's crazy because Dude, there's been times where I've even like been like, I don't know if I can get up on stage, and I'm like, dude, this kid fucking flew a plane without even knowing if he was afraid of heights yet. It's, I think that's fucking crazy. All right, well, what convinced you to get into it?
I guess I was just like looking at different career options and opportunities and everything, and I was like, I don't want to do like mainstream, office 9 to 5 kind of job or whatever. I want to do something that takes me places and explore a little bit. And growing up, I never really left my hometown a whole lot. I did a little bit of like regional, little road trip here or there around the Midwest or, things like that. But I really wanted to get out and see a lot more. And it's kind of cliche for a pilot to say they're like, oh, see the world or whatever. But it really has taken me all across the world, which is a really cool part of it. So that's kind of what the big convincing thing was for me, I guess.
Okay, so you've been all across the world. By all around the world, I mean the world, obviously, it's 2019. The world's really not that fucking big anymore, dude. It's really not. Like, if you remember back, I mean, we're not old enough to really remember, but if you look back on, like, when we went to World War II and people were heading over fucking seas and getting in their ships and packing their fucking bags, dude. Now it's a flight away. One day and you're over wherever. Where have you been? Why don't you tell us where you've been a little bit?
I guess if you count like some of the countries I've been through to get to destinations and everything like that, I guess my first deployment, doing what I do, I went to Africa. So to get there, hopped over to Pittsburgh to take my international flight there. Not Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. Yeah, Philadelphia. I flew from Philly to Doha, Qatar, and just went through the airport there. And that was insane because it was my first time, international traveling other than like Canada, but I don't really count that because it's, right up the road. The northern states. Yeah. So, hopped to Doha, Qatar, just blew my mind. I was only there for like a couple hours to catch on my next flight. Jumped from there that flight took me to Djibouti, Africa. Djibouti. Hottest place I've ever been, to this day. It felt like someone's walking around with a hairdryer, like blowing it on you 24/7. So, yeah, it was. I don't even know the temperature. To be honest, it was well over 100 every single day. So I guess from there, I mean, there's a huge naval base there where a lot of people kind of go in and out when they're going in and out of Africa. So from there is where I went to where I was at for work. So around Africa a bit. I've also been to, after that, I did a really cool Europe trip with my girlfriend. Flew her out to London is where I met her when I came straight out from Africa. So we stayed in London for a few days. Went to Germany after that. Really cool. Luxembourg, dude, that's like a gold nugget that more people need to go to and know about. It's like Germany. Like, I love Germany. That's probably my favorite country I've been to so far. But Luxembourg is like almost like a luxury Germany. I don't really know. It's a tiny country, but everything there was just beautiful and nice and amazing. It was really cool. So I went to there, and then after that we went to Portugal from there. That was just vacation, not work related. I guess aside from that, other deployments, went to all around Afghanistan. Really cool time there. Went through Kuwait to get there. Been through Dubai a couple times in the UAE. Dubai is insane. As far when it comes to like luxury and everything, it's like everything is like gold plated. It seems like it's just insane there.
What is that? What do they have? The world's tallest, right? The world's biggest. What is that even fucking called? And what's that like? Have you seen it? Yeah. You seen it? Okay, what is that called? And what's that like being there?
It's the Burj Khalifa or Burj Khalifa. Depends how different people pronounce it differently. It's like the tallest tower in the world. I believe there's a time of year where you can actually go to, like, they do this tourism thing where you can go to the very top of it. And I've heard, I haven't done and experienced it myself, but I've heard at like the right time of year, right conditions, right sort of visibility and clarity, where you can watch the sun set and then watch it rise, like if you turn around. It's insane.
Oh my god. That's fucking crazy. Meanwhile, we're up here in the Midwest. Fucking sun's going down at 4 p.m. We're like, it's dark out by the time. Shit. Okay, so never flew before college. Went to college, got certified in motherfucking everything except for your ATP. which ATP stands for Airline Transport Pilot. So let's break this down here. Why don't we break down the different levels of pilot and what it takes to, like, what each one means. So obviously we have a private pilot, and then there's IFR endorsements, and there's commercial. And just say what you've done and how long those kind of took to do that.
So your kind of first step in general in the aviation world is going to be your private pilot certificate. So that's going to be a minimum of, I think it's 40 hours, and depending on if you go to, under different regs, Part 141 or Part 61, they're different requirements, but whatever. Around 40 hours is what you're going to need. Most people will end up, flying a little bit more than that, just because obviously you're brand new to flying, so it's a little bit different for everyone. Private pilot's the first one to do, and it is extensive. It's extremely difficult because you go from driving a car or whatever, doing not flying your whole life, to all of a sudden flying, and it's like a completely different world, as you know too. So it's really cool to kind of get on the sticks and get in the sky and like learn everything. And the book work is insane. The groundwork, I think I put probably 4 or 5 times as much groundwork at least into that course than I did, in the air. So private pilot's cool. It usually takes people quite a bit of time to knock it out. I decided to wait for a summer for a break in classes and then just take that and kind of cram it, just to hammer it out, because I've been told by a lot of different flight instructors that they recommend doing it in as short amount of time as you can so everything stays fresh. So I did it in, I want to say it was like 7 or maybe 8 weeks. I did my whole private pilot course. Yeah.
Holy shit.
And some people, they spend 2 years doing it. So, I mean, what I did was I woke up every single morning, really early to get out to the airport before sunrise to do my briefing with my flight instructor, and we'd be first flight up just about every day. And the benefit to that was the whole fleet of planes was on the ground, so you didn't have to worry about planes not being available. And then, winds were usually calm. The air was really, really smooth.
Why wouldn't a plane be available?
Well, University of North Dakota, there's a massive fleet. I think it's over 100 aircraft they have there. One of the biggest aviation schools in the world. And so, of course, the best. Of course, everybody and their mother wants to fly there. So, if you're not very proactive in your studies there, in your flight training, then you're going to definitely take some losses on aircraft availability. So, but yeah, I guess after private pilot, started working on my instrument rating. So that's a lot of flying approaches, learning how different flight instruments work, flying in instrument meteorological conditions, IMC versus, standard VMC conditions, everything like that.
What does that mean?
So basically,
So basically, we're just looking at our instruments now out the window.
Yeah, exactly. So instrument flying is a whole different ballgame. It's just, you're not looking out your windows at that point. You're just flying off instruments, as the name implies. So VFR flying, visual flight rules, is just going to be looking out the windows. It's visually flying. You're referencing your instruments and everything. Right, yeah, kind of like, I guess. But then instrument flight rules, IFR, is just going to be a lot more inside the cockpit kind of flying. So that was a whole different change up, and it was probably my hardest course as far as like the FAA written exams go and stuff, because there is so much more knowledge and so much more depth you get into going from a VFR pilot to, working on your instrument rating. So that one was pretty fun. It was definitely a big challenge while doing, full-time classes in college, working, everything like that, all the other stuff that we were doing back in our college days. Yeah, man. We all kinds of stuff. So yeah, we had, what was going on? We were in Beta Theta Pi fraternity. A little shout out there.
Gamma Kappa.
Great time, dude. Gamma Kappa chapter. So yeah, we had that. That was a pretty involved thing, especially when you started getting into like executive positions, things like that. You had that going on. You had different student organizations. You had different flying clubs if you chose to do that kind of stuff. Of course, work, like I said. You're also trying to keep up on your homework, your studying, your research, everything like that. So it was busy, but
Okay, so you're at UND, never flown before, and now you're in classes of pretty difficult high-level classes, and plus UND is a liberal arts campus, which, for those of you who don't know what that means, Embry-Riddle is another flight school that we can kind of compare this to, where they only give out aeronautical degrees, which means that you're just kind of going for your hours and going for your flight rules, and you're just going to try to get that and go for it. Which is, I mean, if you're only trying to be a pilot, that's fine, but at UND you get a full degree with it, so you've got, you know, your English classes, your math classes, you've got everything else with it. So at the same time that he's flying, he's got all these other normal college campus classes that anyone else would have, and he's in beta, and he's in ROTC, and he's taking on executive roles at beta. Not one executive role, but how many? 2?
I think it's 2, yeah.
2 of them at the same time, and then switched over to a third one to like help out there for a little bit. What's so? Christ Almighty. That's wild. So, okay, so you've got these. How did you manage to get all these? You know what? Okay, let me stop first. Go ahead and finish up with the different levels of certificates, and then just how did you manage to fucking do all this shit?
Yeah. So I guess after my instrument rating, it was kind of a combination of a collection of courses where you worked on your instrument rating, and then your commercial rating and your multi-engine rating at the same time, or sorry, commercial certificate and multi-engine rating. So that was kind of a combination of different courses, the way that University of North Dakota had it structured. I believe they still have it pretty similar, if not the same. So commercial was, honestly, I thought that was the easiest. And everybody thinks commercial, like if you say you're a commercial pilot, everyone's like, oh, you fly for Delta or whatever. And it's like, no. All commercial means is that you can get compensated for flying. If you're an airline pilot, then yeah, that's a different story. But like, yes, I'm a commercial pilot. No, I don't fly a United 757 or whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's a common misconception, but I get it. It kind of, the name can kind of be tricky. So commercial was great, though. It was really easy. It was just a lot of stick and rudder skills, kind of learning, you know, mastering your craft, so to speak. It was a lot more flight time and just, you know, more advanced maneuvers and everything like that. But that one came very easy to me. It was kind of like, it felt like my private pilot course, but another step into it. So that one wasn't a huge thing for me. Multi-engine rating, that was pretty crazy. It was just like, hey, you learned how to fly an airplane? Okay, pretty much forget everything about all of that, because we're about to just throw another engine on your wing and and teach you everything from there. So that was pretty crazy, because they're like cutting your engine when you're flying and everything like that, you know. And so you had to learn how to handle engine out type of emergencies and everything like that. So that was pretty cool. I really enjoyed it, just the challenge to it, because it was like you had all this extra horsepower. You had a handful of throttles when you're taking off every time, and it was just a blast because you were going so much faster in that Piper Seminole and whatever after getting out of a 172. And so that was a really cool change, but it was overall it was really fun. I always saw it as more fun than stressful. It was very stressful at times when you had exams and things like that going on, but for me, I just loved it so much that it was just like I just grinded through it and ultimately enjoyed it more than I didn't. Like, there were definitely days where I was like really tired, or you know, went out partying the night before or something like that. And
No.
you call in that I'm safe. We had this little we had that little risk assessment checklist, the I'm safe it's called. It's like illness, medication, sleep, alcohol, fatigue, and external factors, something like that. Yeah.
Yep.
So it was like if any of those things were like a no-go for you, then you could scrap your flight and no penalty to you. So definitely had to use that a few times, just because some days you're feeling it, some days you're not. So it's always obviously at the end of the day best to be safe. But I didn't have a whole lot of that. Like more often than not, for sure, majority of the time I would want to be flying no matter what. So liked that a lot. Once I got my multi-engine rating and commercial certificate, instrument rating, everything like that, I was done with the required flight courses for my degree. And I looked into whether or not I wanted to get my certified flight instructor rating, my CFI, or not, just because a lot of people recommended it, but it was a lot of extra money that I didn't have because I pulled out student loans for everything. So I ended up deciding to do it, and it was probably the best decision in my flight training career that I made, just because it's such a nice insurance thing if you think about it. Like, if I were to lose my job today, you know, flight instructors are needed everywhere. So it's like you can always kind of fall back on that, is what everybody kind of says it about it. And not only that, but I love the teaching aspect of it. That was definitely my hardest flight course by far. Because again, it was like you learn how to fly an airplane, you learn how to fly a multi-engine airplane, and everything like that, and then they're like, okay, forget all that. We're going to start over, but from the right seat. And you're like, you wouldn't think it, but it's very hard to switch seats in an airplane and fly from the other side. And you kind of get the feel for that. And then on top of that, you're also teaching somebody. So that was really difficult to kind of adjust to and everything, and it definitely took a little while. It was actually, I don't know if you knew this or not, but it was the only check ride that I failed.
I didn't know you failed a check ride.
Yep, I passed every single one of them, but that one I think, obviously a learning experience. I think it was just a little bit of complacency. The check pilot gave me an engine failure, simulated engine failure. Pulls your engine back, pulls your throttle back to idle, and then you basically run the checklist, do everything that you need to do to get you on the ground safely, and then you're supposed to recover, add your power back in above 500 feet above the ground. So my landing spot, I picked. You kind of pick a spot that you want to aim for to like put the plane down and everything. So theoretically, if you were to actually have to go all the way down. So I picked out this spot, and it was along this road. You know how North Dakota grid lines are with the roads, right. Northeast, southwest roads. It was runways everywhere. It was great. So we're going down. We're just kind of gliding down. I ran the checklist and everything was looking good. And as I'm looking at my aim point, all of a sudden I see this cop on the ground flip his lights on. And I'm like, oh man, I'm talking to my check pilot. I'm like, and she was cool. She was really chill during the whole flight and everything. This was the last thing before we were going to turn around and come back and land. And I'm like, hey, there's a cop. He's pulling someone over or whatever. And I'm kind of fixated on that. Totally got distracted. Blew through my minimums. It was, and not by much. I think I was literally like 450 feet above the ground before I caught it. And I didn't think she would catch it, so I was like, all right, I'm going to recover, threw the throttle back in, started my climb out, pulled the flaps up and everything, and then she's like, oh, I'm going to have to, that's going to be an unsat for you. And I was like, what? She's like, yeah, you went through, 500 feet. That's like a hard, like that's kind of a big rule.
Feet below the ground.
Yeah, I was like, it's only 50 feet less than the minimums, but it is what it is. They have standards, and it's for a reason, and I learned from it because I damn sure didn't go below that after that.
Even the great Nick Norby, who has done all of this, can make failures, ladies and gentlemen. See, that is what I fucking love about this guy. He's fucking failing shit, and he's like, you know what? I'll do it again tomorrow and fucking try it again. That's awesome. All right, I'll let you keep going.
Yeah, no, I guess, and it's a good point that you bring that up because a lot of people use the expression like fail forward or whatever, and it's like that can be a cheesy thing to say or cliche or whatever, but I mean, there's some truth to that because I think if I had just kind of rolled through all my check rides without failing them or whatever, I think I still would be fine, but it's also a really good learning experience to be like, okay, well, that like now I'm really going to make sure that I don't do this again, and you ultimately are better from it, so that was pretty cool. Because I went up, like you said, I had to do I think it was like a retrain, refly scenario or whatever. So I had to like go over it with my flight instructor, tell him what I failed on, and then like go up with him, do a quick flight just to like show him I could do it safely and whatever. And then like go back up with the check airman after that. And she passed me no problem. So it wasn't a big deal. It just cost an extra like $800 by the end of it. So, so that was cool, I guess. It was an expensive mistake, but whatever, we're human. We make mistakes. So yeah, that was pretty much after that. That was when I was done with my flight training, and then rolled right into. I got hired by the university to flight instruct. So I did part-time flight instructing along with my other work and classes and everything like that.
Your other work. So you're telling me that flight instructors don't get paid enough to only do that? What? Okay. So now let's just go ahead and back this up. So now you're working. And you're a flight instructor, and you're in beta, and you're a student, and you're trying to get a job with Northrop. Yeah. And what does that all entail? How do you handle all of these different stressors? And you're fucking got a girl. You got all these things going on at one. How do you? Because there's a lot of people that have a very difficult time handling multiple things at once, including me. So how do you get by? And then at the same time, all these things are going on, and you have a smile the whole fucking time you're doing it. How do you manage all that?
I mean, me too. I definitely have the the struggle of balancing it all from time to time. Things get a little rocky from time to time, just like it does for anybody. But I guess just like the focus that I was trying to have throughout, like I would have like a checklist. I had a planner. So like every day I would have like hour by hour slotted. We just talked about this last week, like just getting so busy with everything. It's like you gotta, and some people do on their phones or whatever. Me, I like to write it out by hand. I don't know why. I'm a pen and paper guy when it comes to like checklists and things like that. And maybe that's the aviation side of me, checklist oriented or whatever, but I make a checklist or, paper list for like just about everything. So, and spreadsheets too. Don't get me going on spreadsheets. I'm such a nerd with that, with budgeting and stuff. I love it though. It's just whatever. It makes me happy, I guess, for whatever reason.
It's working.
It's working. It's working. But, yeah, it was a lot to juggle, but, cause I also worked at FedEx Freight. Sweetest college job I think anybody could ever have. The guys there, the crew there were the coolest, most laid back guys. It was a small center where the drivers would go out, deliver, freight every day or whatever. And then they would pick freight up and bring it back. And I'd show up after class, hop on the forklift and grab all their pallets of whatever they picked up and consolidate it onto, a couple trailers or however many trailers were needed for the line haul guys to come and pick them up in the evening to bring them down to Fargo and distribute from there. So that was a really, really good job because it was laid back, way better pay than anywhere on campus, way better pay than, where I was flight instructing for the university. Because they've got you there at UND. They know, they're like, man, we'll hire you as a flight instructor, but I think they pay me like $12 an hour, $13 an hour.
Do they give you that? They give you the credit too, right? So your loans get deferred?
Yeah, you can do, I think it's like a co-op where they'll like enroll you in that. So like it can defer your student loans. So a lot of people do that while they're building their hours to go to the airlines because that's what a majority of the guys there do. So they've kind of got the leverage there. They're like, yeah, we can get you those hours, but we're not going to pay you much for it. So had to work with that, but I just loved flying, and it was worth it for me. I didn't make a ton of money there, but I knew I wouldn't going into it. I could have gone to other, little flight schools nearby or whatever and definitely made more, but I was fine with it. I was content. It wasn't necessarily all about the money with that. So,
all right. So if I remember right, so let's just back up. I'm going to tell you guys the story of how I met Mr. Nick Norby. Freshman year. Let's back up one more step just to give you guys a better insight because there's some people. By the way, this podcast is fucking blowing up. I don't know what's going on, but my last episode had 70 downloads. 70.
it's a lot for a first one.
My fourth podcast, fourth episode, 70 downloads.
Huh.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Sweet, yeah.
That's fucking sick. I could not believe this.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's fucking unbelievable. So when I was in high school, I did not really like it. Anyone I went to high school knows I really didn't like it there. It's not the high school I went to that was the problem. It's the fact that I knew that I didn't want what they were fucking selling me. I was done with it. I wanted to move on. I had shit in mind with my life, and I was ready to go. You know what I mean? I grew up pretty young. I had same with you. I had divorced parents too, and it kind of makes you grow up a little younger because you got siblings that you got to take care of now too. Because it is what it fucking is. And so I applied to a shitload of campuses, and I went to the senior board where everyone's like holding up their like, hey, look at this is the school I'm going to right here. And UND was the only one of the schools that I applied to and got into that wasn't on the board. And so that's the one I went to because I didn't know anyone there. And I wanted to completely start over. I wanted to completely just give her another fucking shot. So I get to UND. I meet Norby in ROTC. And from there, he invites me to go play hockey with him. And I do. And it was a great night. If you remember that night when it was like the lights weren't even working yet at the park, but we're out there fucking skating and this is stupid as fuck.
I think it's snowing too.
It was snowing, yeah. Dude. And we couldn't even fucking pass the damn puck because there's too much snow. It's stupid. Anyway. And then as the time goes on, as he was saying, for the private pilot course, I'm a pilot, by the way, if anyone else didn't know that too. I'm not as good of a pilot as Norby. He's like the fucking Yoda Jedi Knight Master I'm like the fucking young Anakin before he slaughters all the kids. That's where I'm still. Hopefully I don't slaughter kids. I don't want to. No. That was a bad example. Oh my God, don't say that again. Oh, fuck. Good thing I can edit this.
It's true.
Fuck, man. What was I even talking about? God, man, that's the craziest thing.
Met at ROTC.
Yeah. We were at ROTC, that's where we met. And then flight school kept going, and it took me a little longer, and you got to get out of the dorms, or you have to pay an extra, like, $3,000 to stay there for the entire summer. And my plan, being the genius I am, I'm like, dude, I'm just going to go sleep in University Park. That's how I'm going to make it through this next couple of weeks. And that was legitimately my fucking plan. I had a bag, and that's all I had. I had one bag. I had to sleep. Yeah, that's what I had. I had my sleeping bag, and I had the clothes in it rolled up. I was going to wear it. Just that was what I was going to do until I get. And you're like, what? You are not sleeping in the fucking park. So Norby gave me a fucking bed to lay in, a house to sleep in, and that was now then known as Beta Theta fucking Pi. And then I joined Beta because it was dope as a motherfucker. And that's kind of where this story went into. So that's how I met him, and it's pretty fucking sweet. I don't remember why I brought this story up, though, because there was something I wanted to say that was related to this. Man, that's the craziest part. When you don't write shit down, I wrote all this down, and I forgot what I was going to fucking talk about. Oh, God. If we come back to it, we'll come back to it. We'll just move on. I just remember when I was in Beta with you, we kind of went duck hunting for that first time in North Dakota. Do you remember that? Fucking... Yeah. Okay. So what I want to bring up is the time when we're all up the night before and we go to fucking Walmart and we go and Joel's in your fucking blind and he has his cock hard and his fucking blind. Do you remember that shit? Okay. So the reason I'm bringing all this up is because all of this crazy stuff is all going on and all this fun and camaraderie. So I'm trying to bring all this stuff's going on while all the stressful shit's going on too. So like you can really determine what you focus on in life and what's important to you. And I feel like, because I mean, I've been down that depressed road. I know what that's like. And what it really is more retraining your brain to focus on the shit that matters and the things that are important to you. And you have to kind of, because you're so used to the negative and the blah. And eventually you realize none of that shit matters. And it's about just keeping your brain on the positive. So while you could have bitched about all the loans and this and, oh my God, I had 2 hours of sleep last night and blah, 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 you didn't. You didn't do any of that. In fact, you ran for vice president and won of the house. It's crazy. That's how I met him. So you should tell that first story of when we went hunting. You should fucking I don't remember if you remember that night. That was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good time. So I guess I kind of went hunting a lot in high school with some friends and everything that I went to, from my hometown and everything. And that's what got me into it. And I just loved, as we talked about earlier, loved being outdoors and everything like that. And that was kind of, I loved, it was weird because, like, I love flying so much. But then we'd go shoot things that fly. And it's like, man, we're taking this beautiful gift away from the... Take it away. Is what it is, I guess. It's I don't know. It's a good sport. There's
providing too.
It's providing. There's definitely people that are against it and everything, and we're not. I don't want to get too deep into the political road, but like I think I was listening to Ted Nugent talk on it just a couple weeks ago and everything, and he's like, you know what? He had a really good point. He's like, you know what? Hunters are like. It's such a great thing that we're doing. Not only like population control, animal population control, and things like that. He's like. It's such a pure thing to do when you think about it, and it was a whole new perspective for me. He's like, you have people that are like, how could you shoot a living thing? And it's like, you know what? Like, let's talk about if we didn't. Like, let's talk about like here's a scenario for you. You've got a farmer out there plowing his field. And you ever watch like behind a plow of a tractor or whatever? You see just like thousands of seagulls like swarming, and they'll like land right behind the plow, like freshly plowed land or whatever. And he's like, you know what that is? And it got me thinking about it. I was like, I don't know, fresh dirt, worms, something like that. And it's like, yeah, there's probably a lot of worms in there and everything, but they're also tearing up like mice and rabbits and things that like don't have the chance to escape. And like that is absolute slaughter. And then not only that, whatever's left, they come back and spray it with pesticides and herbicides and everything and poison them. And that just like, it's like the animals are going to die regardless. And if it's in the form of hunting, like I feel like, and he had a really good point that I totally agree with, is like, that's a way more clean, pure way to do it. And I kind of went off topic there as far as like, we were talking about that specific day. That's kind of how I got into it and a little bit of like my thought of hunting and everything like that. But
yeah, one thing I want to bring up quick about your point, and I totally agree. Yeah. Totally agree. Like, I've been hunting since I was 10 years old, dude. Been a bow hunter, been a gun hunter. I've been a fucking slingshot hunter. I've been a trapper. I've done all that shit. I love being in the woods and just kind of being... Here's why. So I had him... The other day, I was out to eat with a friend of mine from England, and he was over here visiting. And I always how England talks. It's like, like how you really want to talk, Yeah. Your Siri voice, if you will. Yeah. Fucking... As he's cutting into a steak... He's talking about how immoral it is to go shoot an elk. Because I was telling that story that we were just talking about before the podcast here about that guy who got that elk tag in Utah, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. He's like, it's so immoral to eat that. And he's fucking cutting into a goddamn steak. I'm like, okay, listen to this. I just want you to know that steak, the animal was living in a cage for its entire life. Fed all sorts of fucking antibiotics, all these things to pump it up and fucking eat this, piss there, do this, do that. And then it had a metal pipe rammed into its forehead. And then it was skinned before it was dead. And then you ate it. And you're telling me that is better than me going and getting a clean kill in the woods? Yeah. And not only that, if that animal is in the woods, the free roaming animals that are in the woods... Let me ask you something. What's a better death? Getting shot or being mauled by a fucking cougar? like, you know what I mean? A mountain lion's going to come down and fuck that thing up if I don't shoot it. Either way, we all have immortality, and I understand the point of people who don't like hunting because what they don't like is death. What they don't like is people dying, things dying, and I get it. But what you have to realize is you're going to die too. We're all gonna get there one day, and it is. But I don't see the point of worrying about it. I don't, because there's gonna be a day. Oh my god, it could be tomorrow. It could be, but you know what's gonna happen? You're gonna be fucking dead, and it's not gonna matter. Yeah. So when it comes down to like these animals are gonna die. You are gonna die. You need animals to live. You can't be vegan and survive forever. Like 90% of them can't. Yeah. There's a very few people that can. And to hunt is the most ethical thing you can fucking do. You're looking for your own food. You're not relying on Walmart to go get it for you while he makes billions, and then you go bitch about it later. Oh my god, can you believe it? Yeah, I can, because you stopped going and getting your own shit. Yeah. I can totally believe it. Someone else started taking care of you, and they made money off you. I can totally believe it. Okay, we'll get off that track. But what I was trying to say is, like, these, especially with the trophy hunting too. Like, what was that, Cecil the Lion? Remember that, when everyone was blowing up? The dentist. For those of you who don't know about Cecil the Lion, a dentist went over to Africa and shot, after paying $500,000 to this person who is in charge of the reservation. He goes, this is a lion that is vicious. It's killing other lions. It's not eating properly. It's sick. It's old. You can hunt it, but it's going to be $500,000. We're going to use this $500,000 to save more lions. This one's going to die soon anyway, so you might as well get our $500K out of it. This dude goes over there, shoots the lion, completely legally. Everyone who lives there is like, this is fine. Everyone who's been there says this is fine, but we done fucked up here in America, and we fucking named it Cecil, so now we're all attached to this goddamn lion that we didn't even know existed a week ago. And suddenly we're all outraged by it. And then, did you know he died? That poor guy is dead.
No way.
Yeah, he died, and everyone rejoiced his death. Like, can you believe that? We're rejoicing the death of a human being because he went and goddamn donated $500,000 to this fucking thing. I think that people just don't fully understand, because hunters are 85% of funds for conservation come from hunters. 85%. That's crazy. And plus, a lot of hunters go and ask farmers to use their land and then pay them privately to use their land, thus supporting the farmers. And a lot of those animals are eating the food in those farmers' lands. So you're helping them too there. So hunting is one of the most ethical things on this planet, and it's really not even up for debate. This is just a factual thing here. It's a very emotional topic for some people, but I'm just a very factual person. Straightforward truth. I don't give a fuck about your feelings. I want to know what the real truth is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I just wanted to get that out because I know for sure there's people listening. Because this podcast is getting too big. I shouldn't say too big. It's getting big enough to where there's going to be an oppositional voice somewhere in their car being like, "Oh, you motherfucker!" So I just wanted to get that out there real quick. So, all right, you can go back to our first day of hunting. We were just talking about how, we were just. I don't remember what the fuck we were talking about. I'm just gonna get back to you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I definitely agree with what you're saying. Along with that too, it's a form of food. We're all poor college dudes and everything like that, so it was extra motivation to go out and do the sport. So we would go out there, and if you can shoot well, you buy a box of shells for what, $12 or whatever. You got 25 shells, I think, 25 shotgun shells, and if you can you can potentially shoot 25 ducks with that, and that's a lot of, or geese or whatever you're hunting for. And so that's a lot of food.
Right.
You just wrap it in bacon, put it in the crock pot or whatever you want to do and everything. And we did that. And it was like, it was a really good thing to, help save a little bit of money or whatever in college when we didn't have much of it. So
all of us in beta ate too.
Yeah.
Even the ones that didn't hunt, we all ate.
Yeah, exactly.
Together.
Right.
It brought together camaraderie.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Like it's a thing that's like, it's a source of food, and not only that, but the actual actually going out and doing the hunting. It's fun. Like we did it as friends. Yeah, there's something about like getting up early, setting up in the middle of the dark. It's freezing cold, but then there's nothing better than when you just watch the earth come to life. Like you start to see little Tweety birds fly first, and then you get whatever teal coming through at 90 miles an hour, a rocket ship and you behind your head and everything. And then the stars in the dark, everything like that. Just something about being out in the middle of nowhere. And then you've got everything flying. You start to hear things, everything like that. The sun comes up. It's just beautiful. And then it's just so much fun. The stories that come from it and everything that you do and the time that you spend. Even just the conversations that you have while you're sitting in the duck blind or the deer stand or what. I mean, maybe not the deer stand. You try to be real quiet there, but maybe you whisper stories. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I think just overall, just the whole experience, I think people shouldn't knock it till they try it, kind of thing. Just because it's such a, just like anything, absolutely. But yeah, it was so much fun, and to be completely honest, the first time that we all went together is a little bit blurry in my memory, but just as a collection of all the times that we went, just overall, I just remember it was just some of the funnest hunts I've ever done in my life, just because of the people, and it was just with the boys, like, and not only that, there wasn't much for good hunting opportunity nearby. Our campus, we had to drive an hour plus away
Fucking A.
in the early morning. So I mean, that was like, again, conversations there on the way back, everything like that. It was overall just such a fun time. Yeah, hop at the truck stop, get some food, snacks for the morning, whatever, coffee. Yeah, loved it. Loved every minute of it. I miss it. I'm rejoicing. Like right now, I'm like, man, I miss that.
I remember I think one of my favorite parts of it, to be honest with you, is like we're all in the house. Yeah, absolutely. That's why they're here, brother. So, oh fuck, dude, our camera died. So I was gonna fucking upload a video of this, but our camera died. We'll pour one out to the camera later. Yeah. Whatever. This is good. This is fine. That night our house threw a fucking party that night. Oh. A fucking party, like loud party. Everyone was over.
I don't think people know the extent of what you're getting at.
Oh, okay. So I'm sorry. So we're all at the house, and when I'm talking about a fucking party, I mean like this is one of the all access. Every level of the house has people in it. The alumni are back. The fucking house is all. It was just unbelievable. Your room, if you don't lock the door, people are getting in, and they're partying in your room now. Like that's just
not a house. This is a 30-bedroom mansion.
Right, I should say our fraternity house. So this is the biggest house on campus too. Square footage wise, the biggest house and the only one that was made out of real brick, not siding and then put brick on the front of it to make it look like brick. That was the night that we're up there, and I was literally up the entire night because I could not sleep. The bass just all night, the fucking bass, and then people are getting tours of the house, and this dude next to me was just fucking his chick in his bed, like right next to me, and I'm like, God damn it, I'm trying to fucking, hey, we gotta hunt in the morning. He's like, I'm out hunting for pussy, god damn it. Like, all right, back to bed. Like, I'm still like a sophomore in college. So yeah, that night was fun because I fucking didn't get any shells. My dumbass. I didn't buy any fucking shells. So we're out at Walmart at fucking 11:45 p.m. Our alarms are set for 3 a.m. to get up. And we're buying these shells. And I bought fucking lead shells instead of steel shot. So I had to end up borrowing shells from people anyway the whole fucking hunt. And, yeah, just talk about Joe real quick in the hall. Just, I don't know. He's probably not even listening. Fuck it. Who cares?
Man, I hope he does listen to this because he is one of the most enthusiastic people I've ever met.
He probably is.
From especially
most.
Probably the most out of, at least in the college era. I think he's the most enthusiastic person I've ever met in those 4 years. And I've met some pretty hyped up people. Just
the one comment. I remember when he took over recruiting chair.
Yeah.
How many fucking we got pledges out the ass.
Yep.
When that dude, I'm telling you, if he wants to put his mind towards something, his mind is getting poured. It's done. That's it. Yeah. His mind's made up. He's doing it, and it happens. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's what I love about him. He's just kind of a go-getter. Like, hunting, all over it, pumped about it. Like, you mentioned the story about he was laying in my ground blind or whatever, and we were all just making fun of him because dude got a hard-on just laying in my ground. I think I might have a picture somewhere.
It's
if I
not
looked
even
at my
a
phone.
half hard
This
on.
is real. This wasn't like shove a banana in your pants, dude. This guy was erect. And, yeah. He's got a lucky lady somewhere, or one day down the road, because he's
his pants and then through the blind, and then we all saw it.
Yep. It was insane, but that's what I mean. Like, he's so pumped about. I mean, maybe turned on is a different story. I don't know. Whatever. It was funny. It was
so
funny.
Passionate, man.
He was passionate. He was hyped up about it.
He's a great member of the house,
dude. He was. Yeah. He was always. He always had good contributions, good things to say. He would always amp people up and everything, and he would just really commit to what he wanted to do.
You know what I learned best from him, though, to be honest with you, is I learned how to mend my mistakes with the house.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you. Because we all know none of us are perfect, especially in college. And until I saw him kind of stand up in front of the whole house and be like, hey, I fucked up, and I need to make this better, and this is the steps I'm going to take to make this better. When he did that, it's kind of when I started... Because there was a time when I was so depressed and fucking bad, and I just wasn't showing up around the house. And when I started seeing him do that, it's kind of when I started coming back around too. Because I was like, man, if he can do it, man, there's like really no reason why I shouldn't be able to fucking mend my mistakes and just make it better with people.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Is like you can really tell that he was committed to it and working hard on it because he was, he had his corrective actions laid out, and it's not easy to get up in front of that many dudes. In front of an organization, literally an organization.
Brothers.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like a one-on-one thing may be different, but I mean this was in front of a crowd, and he just talked about what was going on, talked about what he's going to do to fix it, and then not only that, but he did it. Like perfect execution, and I really mad respect for him. My one regret is that I haven't really kept in touch with him much at all, and
dude.
I'm like, man, I think he lives like really nearby, so I want to. I don't know.
Beta in general, I haven't stayed up with.
I'm sad I missed homecoming. I really wanted to go to homecoming this year, but I was in Idaho for work during that time, so I missed it again. And then last year I was in Africa and everything like that. So I mean, I've missed homecoming each year so far since graduation, and I'm bummed because I just want to get back together with like him and the boys and everything, and like just catch up. And I don't know. So he's a great guy. I miss him,
dude. When we went hunting, so we kind of split up into some groups because there's different places you can go. No one was like really sure, like, should we go here? Should we go there? Where are we going? It was like, I think 3 different groups kind of split off into 3 different areas. And so our group was me, you, and Joe. And the sun isn't even fucking up yet.
It's coming back.
Joe throws in a dip, a long cut dip. 2 minutes later, lights up a cigar. And so he's got a dip in his chin. He's got a full wad in his dip. And then or his lip. And then right after that, he starts smoking a cigar. And then he goes, "Oh man, I'm not feeling so well." Like, "Oh, are you sure you're not feeling so well?" Like, duh, you're fucking so head buzzed right now. It's unbelievable. I can't even believe you're not throwing up.
He's like, "Oh yeah, it's a manly thing to do. We're hunters." I think he threw up in the cattails.
Did he?
I feel like he did. If not, I know he was really close. And then he tried to give away all his tobacco. He's like, "Oh, you guys want this chew? You want these?
No,
you
I
want
just
these
saw you
cigars and
puke."
everything?" Yeah, that was so funny, man. Like we were like still setting up decoys, and we got lots of time before it's even like close to shooting time, and like he's just hyped up and at it, and he's ready to go, and he.
He's so hyped.
It was so much fun. Yeah, I think he almost lit the cattails on fire with his cigar too, because he tried to throw it out. And it's like, yeah, we're right next to this pond, but we're also next to a lot of very flammable
Dry.
things. Yeah,
Very dry.
he gets a little ahead of himself every now and then. Maybe it's different now, but yeah, then it was like, all right, just pause, think about what you're doing for a second here.
Dude, that memory that we're talking about right now, I was 20.
Yeah.
Which means you were probably 19.
Yeah. Yep.
You were a teenager.
Yeah, dude.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It was.
That seems like it was recent, and yet that was recent. That was probably 5-6 years ago.
We're old. Yeah, that was. Yeah, you're right. 5-6 years ago. That's exactly how long ago it was.
I remember that first summer that I stayed at Beta, and we must have gone through like 10 fucking sofas, because if someone threw up on a couch, which is almost every night, we would then take it up to the balcony, hurl it off the balcony 3 stories onto the ground, nearly missing somebody every time. And then it would then be thrown into the fire pit, which we would then breathe in all these chemicals. And it was just, we'd try to like melt glass, like we're in this fucking glass melding fucking furnace area. We're just so drunk. Flare. What happened to, okay, tell the story, because I wasn't there for this one, and I'll get him on here at some point, but Halpin's arm, when he burned it in the front yard of Beta, and he like had his skin melting off of his forearm. What happened there? I don't even know what happened there.
I think, if my memory serves correct, I think it actually wasn't at our fire in the front yard. I think we had our fire going, we were doing our thing, but the neighbors in the house behind us wanted to get a fire going.
Girls.
And at this point, everybody had alcohol in their system and everything like that. And he you know, Halpin, he's such a gentleman, he's such a friendly gentleman, like friendly guy. He what he wanted to do was he wanted to go help them out because they couldn't get their fire started. So he cut off the top of a water bottle and he poured a little gasoline in there. And he would always he drinks, what is it, Captain 100 or whatever the higher tier Captain Morgan is. And that's what he drank, still drink. And he went back there like just drunk as a fish, and he went back there, he's like, "Oh, let me help you out," doing the gentleman thing he wants to do, which is great. But didn't really catch on to what he was like. I don't think he really knew what he was doing, or wasn't being super careful. Obviously, dude, he completely burnt his whole arm because he went to pour the gas in, and it just lit his whole arm on fire. And I remember he was so worried about like his parents finding out, because his he kept some things from his parents because it's college. We all did, and he told them that he was pulling something out of the oven in the house. This is the story he told them. He was pulling something out of the oven in the house, and like one of the guys in the house like pushed him or something, and he like fell into the oven or something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, man. That doesn't like encompass your whole arm, right?
You should have gone with something like a grease fire or literally anything other than that story.
Yeah, so it was crazy. Like, ultimately, he's got like a battle scar from like literally helping people out, and I think that I don't know. Everybody thinks a little bit different about everybody, but one of the biggest like traits that I see about him is like he likes to help people, and that's literally all that was his goal when that happened.
Dude, I mean, we both lived with him.
Yeah.
His heart's in the right place. And that's what matters about people, is when your heart's in the right place, if your intentions are good, that's all that matters to me.
Yep.
And, you know, everybody has differences and disagreements, and everyone fights along the fucking way. It is what it is. And it's fine. It is what it is. But that dude taught me a lot of shit about, first of all, flying an airplane, because he's a goddamn good pilot. So his dad is rated in everything. By everything, I mean everything from all the helicopter to all the fixed wing to all the maintenance to, like, the dude is just, he could fucking go out to the woods. You could just dump him in the woods, and a week later he'd have an airplane flying out of the woods. Like, he could just build an airplane out of the fucking trees and the grass and shit. So, like, I think Helvin's got that fucking DNA. Because, like, I mean, he's been flying since he was a kid. We've all been going to AirVenture now. He's been going since he was a kid, too. I've been going since I was a kid. But he's been going, like, flying in the stressful fucking shit. Flying into EAA AirVenture, for those of you who don't know, this is the world's largest fly-in. Like, the world, the Earth, where all of the airplanes are, this is the biggest one where they all go to. From countries, all like million people, fucking, no, not million, millions with an S.
Was it 30,000 or something?
Yeah, 30,000 airplanes
More.
coming into one airport. Helping's like fucking 10. Like, you know what? I got this shit. I'll fly this bitch in here. I don't give a shit. I'll fucking fly this in. So I think like learning how to do all these crazy things too at a young age, because if you can fly an airplane at 10 years old, I mean, shit. What can't you fucking do at this? Well, you can drive a boat. You can fucking drive a manual transmission, which he does. Dirt bike. Like, if it has an engine in it, you can take it apart to nothing, put it back together to like a complete project, and then explain to you how the fuck he just did all that too. It's his mind is very mechanically inclined and very service to other people inclined, which, dude, that's a fucking career. If you ask me, that's a fucking career.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a good combination. He's a very intuitive person. He's always, he's an Eagle Scout, which he's really proud of, and that's pretty cool, I think. So he was always thinking of ways to like do things better, make it more ergonomic and things like that. So he always has a super creative mind, which is cool. It's really fun just to watch him like do his thing. He's taught me a little bit about, because he went to school for aircraft mechanic aviation maintenance program that he did. So I helped out at his at one of their hangars. They were working on some airplane stuff, and he was kind of showing me the ropes and like, this is what you do and this is what you don't do. And it was cool just to see kind of like the way that he shared it to me and things like that. And I think a lot of it definitely does come from his dad too, like you said. His dad's insane. Like, we were cleaning out one of his hangars, and there's just aircraft parts everywhere. I mean, parts that you didn't even know existed, and parts of parts, and like sub parts, and like in corners and drawers and everywhere around this hangar, which is just cluttered. And you'd pull something up and hold it up to his dad, and he'd be like, "Oh, that's off a 97, this and that." Like, he'll know everything about like whatever D model and like this and that. Yeah, I got that because this guy crashed it and he didn't have the money to fix it or whatever. And he'll tell you like exactly how to put it on, probably even the torque specs on it. Like, he's insane.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Talk about what is the aircraft that he has in his possession that the pilot could not afford to fix. Why don't you mention real quick what that aircraft is?
Yeah, it's a MiG-21 Russian fighter jet.
That's
so
bananas.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's just backtrack here so we all just get a grip. He's got his maintenance and everything. He's got his pilot certificate and everything in fixed wing, pilot certificate and everything in rotorcraft, multi-engine, Cherokee 6. He's a flight instructor. He fucking one time, he was on a plane that was delayed for Delta, and because the maintenance was taking too long to fix it, this motherfucker hops off the damn plane, goes and fixes the airplane that he is a passenger on, and then Delta's like, "Hey, thanks for fixing it, but please don't ever fucking do that again." Like, oh my god, you can't do that, dude.
Yeah, because he worked with Northwest Airlines when they were still around before they merged with Delta. And so, yeah, that's kind of ironic that he was like, kind of got out of that career, his maintenance career with Northwest Airlines, shortly after they merged with Delta. And then next thing you know, he's fixing a Delta plane on the ramp because passengers are trying to catch their flight on time. And I think that's a hilarious story. I mean, you don't hear that every day.
But there you go. But we're just helping get a service from right there.
Yeah.
He hopped off an airplane and just decided without pay, I'm going to fix this motherfucker so we can all get to our next terminal. It's awesome, dude.
Just showing off.
It's awesome, dude.
No.
It's just awesome. And something you told me back when we were freshmen, I don't know if you remember this, but you told me you are the cumulative of the 5 closest people you're with. And I didn't even realize that was true until you told me that. And it is so goddamn true. Like, the 5 people that you are with the most in your life, think about who they are. You are a reflection of them. And they're a reflection. So if you're an asshole and they're close to you, well, you're kind of rubbing off, and they're going to be like 1/5 of an asshole now because you're kind of being an asshole. So I think of it now in a way that it's almost my responsibility to be the 1/5 of good in someone's life instead of the 1/5 of bad that someone could not have in their life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I know that I learned that from his name's Les Brown. He's a motivational speaker. I'm really big on like personal development. Not a lot of people know that about me. I don't really talk about it a whole lot. Not that I'm trying to keep it a secret or private or anything. But it's just kind of something I'm into and really interested in and learning and everything. But anyway, Les Brown is who I heard it from initially, who said, you're a collection of the 5 closest people that you hang out with. And what he said was, if you're the smartest person in your group, you need a new group.
Right, you do.
It really it really makes you stop and think, like, what's going on? Like, who you really start to pay attention, like you said, more of like, who am I hanging out with and what am I doing and that kind of thing. So it's really cool just to kind of like gain the awareness of that and really start to like think it through a little bit more in depth as far as like, who do I really want to be around and why, kind of thing.
Right,
So
who do I want to be?
Yep, who do I want to be? Exactly.
All right. Like, what I was thinking was, when I first heard that, I was kind of hanging out with shitty people. Like, it was kind of shitty people, man.
Yeah.
And I realized it, and I realized that it would be better for me to just be by myself and learn to live with myself until I can find better people to be around than to be around those shitty people in the first place. Because, I mean, fuck, man. When I first left high school and came to college, I could like squat 300 pounds. I could bench. I could run a lot. And then I got fat. I got up to 230 motherfucking pounds, dude.
way.
I did. 230 pounds. It's unbelievable. It's unfucking believable. And then I was like, what in the fuck is going on? And then, like, I just, like, for whatever reason, that memory came back into my head that you told me, like, you're accumulating blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know what? I've been hanging out with 5 big fucking assholes right now, dude. And I went and just kind of got to realize that it's better just to learn yourself and realize that, hey, I can live with myself. And the better people will come around, because if you start bettering your life and you realize, like, where do I want to be? Just today is a great day to start doing that shit. Whatever it is that you want to do, today's the day to start it. Because everyone's like, oh, I've been doing it for 20 years. Well, they had to have a day where they were like, today's the day I'm fucking starting this bitch. You don't get 20 years by waiting forever to start. You start today. And that's what it is. And I think what I did was I just realized I need to fucking start right now, that my life needs to start getting better. I'm done with this shit. And I did. And I started making better friends. I go to comedy clubs, and there's shitty comedians that I won't fucking touch with a 10-foot pole because they're just cancer spots. And there's some that are fucking like, dude, we got to get our asses on Netflix. Let's fucking go. That is the fucking person I want to be around. That's the person you should want to be around. So that's kind of why even you're the type of person I want to be around, because there's days that, fuck, man. I mean, people with depressive feelings know that it comes and goes. It's a wave. It's here and there. And there's days where I'm not in a great place. I'm like, Norby, oh my fucking God, dude. And you're like, dude, you're fine. Look, you're fine. Everything's great. And you put me right back in this place where it's like, dude, life's fine. Everything's fine. Because sometimes it takes a person to put it in perspective for you to realize everything's fine. And I've never been to some of the countries that you've been to where you've seen famine and starving and people dying over things over here that we would never die for. Never die for. So it kind of gives you a new perspective, too, of, like, what we have here. Like, we are sitting right now in a nice area of, I'll say it, we're in a wealthy area.
Yeah.
We're in a pretty wealthy community in Minnesota right now. And we're on a very nice futon in a very nice home. We're just, I mean, you're just drinking a beer. We have this time to sit down. We're not in a fucking sweatshop. We have it made. We have it fucking made. And I think that a lot of us are just born and so used to having everything made that when we're not just popping off in life, that we're not happy with it. And I think we're just too used to everything just being too fucking easy. You know what I mean?
Man, you're going to get me going on this tangent here.
Keep going.
where do I start with this? Yeah, absolutely. I realize not everybody gets the opportunity to, travel worldwide and everything like that. But I don't think that my mindset is entirely stemmed from that. I think it amplified it exponentially when I did start traveling outside the country and everything like that. But you start to realize that, just like you said, like we really, really do have it good, unbelievably good.
Kings,
dude.
we
There's
are
so
fucking kings. We have it. We have more shit than kings ever did.
there's so much to be thankful for, and a lot of people consider me an optimist, and I don't deny that. I definitely consider myself an optimist as
You're
well.
a realist in the realist form.
Yeah, and I think it's a balance. I think I'm optimistic, I'm realistic. I try not to be pessimistic, but I realize that not everything is sunshine and rainbows, and I get that some people don't always have the best backgrounds or the best upbringings and everything like that. And I'm not saying that, everybody needs to be smiling ear to ear from every day, but think about this. When you go to the grocery store, what are you looking at? Just like a general, just tell me like a real vague little description of like, what are you looking for? What do you see?
I guess. Okay, well, the grocery store I go to is Target. So naturally, I took a shower before I go because I could present myself to the Target.
Yeah.
You can't. I mean, it's not Walmart. You can't just fucking roll up. Shit. So I guess when I'm looking in, what do I look for? Fucking cereal. I'm like, yo, is this, what's the music like today in here? I guess I look to see, I don't know, like, I hope there's no mold on the bread. I don't know, shit like that, I guess. Just, I don't know exactly where you're going with this, but I do understand that we're just walking into a store where there's endless food.
Yeah, no, and here's why I ask it. I'm going to get into a little bit of like my mindset of what I see, what I think about, and a little bit about why. Dude, it's a wild thing every day, and I can't shut my brain off thinking about it. Here's what I see. I leave my heated home. I get in my car, that I drive on a paved road. I go to this store. There's this beautiful building, Target. Oh man, they're beautiful. Beautiful building, right? You walk in, you've got endless food, like you said. Endless options of said food. You've got lights in there, you've got climate control, you've got refrigerated stuff, you've got frozen stuff, you've got fresh stuff. If you want seafood in the Midwest, you can have it. You've got so much in front of you.
I never thought of that till right now.
That's what I mean. Like,
that's fucking crazy.
So many people don't think about that. Like, look at everything that's in front of you, and then you know what I see next is I see people mindlessly walking from aisle to aisle, like, just pissed. And maybe not pissed, and maybe some people have RBF or whatever, resting bitch face or whatever you call it. I don't know. But this is just kind of like what a day in my mind is like a little bit. Is like I see people that are just, I don't want to say ungrateful because maybe that's a stretch and maybe I'm just reading into it too much, but I feel like so many people take it for granted of like what they're around. It's like, man, literally stop, look up from your phone for 2 seconds and look what's around you. Like, we have so much around us, so much options, opportunity, so many things to be thankful for. And these people, I was at the grocery store earlier tonight with my girlfriend getting some food, and this husband and wife were walking aisle to aisle, and they were like, must have had the same grocery list as us because they were near us the whole time. And but they were like full on like yelling at each other, and they had 2 kids with them, and they're like yelling at each other, like just angry. And it's like, man, it just like, what I think about is like how, and again, like it maybe it's ignorant of me to say it because everybody's got a different walk of life and everything, but it's like, man, how could you even think about acting like this or being like this? And it's like, I don't know. I can't really put it into words sometimes, but I get just so wrapped up in those thoughts sometimes.
Okay, so let's for people to understand kind of how you have those thoughts too. So you're a pilot of a drone, which means that you are, and you're not a Reaper drone. You're not with the Air Force. You're contracted in, right? So you're just surveillance. You're just watching to see what's going on. without getting into too much detail, obviously, don't get too much into it, but your position of you see people bitching about these stupid fucking things, it's because you've seen the opposite of what it can be if that target's not there, what it can be if there is no food, or what happens if you can't feed your child. You've seen all that, so just try to explain your position from where you've seen the opposite end of why you kind of get frustrated with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a huge part of like how I kind of collectively put some of my mindset together with those kinds of things, is like some of the stuff that you kind of see in some of these countries and things are just like third world, obviously very undeveloped, very unstructured, weak to little to no government system, and they just have nothing. A lot of them will have, a bike or whatever. I've seen rollerblades. I've seen different creative forms of transportation, to get around on very unimproved roads or whatever, if even they have roads. And it just kind of gets your thoughts going about like, look at everything we have. I mean, I've seen farmers out in the middle of nowhere in these places that they'll have a big rainstorm come through and then it starts flooding, and they've got like 3 cattle, and that's like their whole life. Like they've got these 3 cows, and what they do is they have to like, I saw this one dude put a cow in a rowboat to bring him across his flooded field to get it to safety, to try and, make it help it survive so that it wouldn't drown. And it's like, I don't know, it's like you see some of these things day in and day out, and it's just like hours every day of looking at this kind of stuff, and it's just like it gives you so much time to think about, like, dude, I don't even have to own a cow. I can just go to the store and buy some sirloin steak, whatever you want, like a T-bone. I went to this great steakhouse in Boise, Idaho. It was called what was it called? I can't remember the name of it, but anyways, best steak I've ever had in my entire life. And it's like, dude, it was just like I had to pay for it, but that's it. Like, that's the best steak in the whole world.
How
And
much
this,
did you pay for it?
you know what I mean?
Like $20?
No, this was spent. This was I think it was called Chandler's Steakhouse. Real, like,
Well, how much is a cow?
best steak in my whole life. A lot of
much is
money.
a cow?
I don't even know.
Thousands of dollars.
Thousands of
How much
dollars,
is
at
a
least.
steak?
Right? Yeah.
So let's put
Pennies
right
compared
here.
to it. So that's what I mean. Is like this dude.
Save up for an investment so you can eat later.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly. Yeah.
Just
So
that in itself.
this dude's out there in the middle of the night, like shoving with all his body weight, everything he's got, to try and get this massive cow into his rowboat. Somehow it amazed me that it didn't flip over and land on top of him and drown him. I don't know. Either way, but it's just like that kind of thing is like, man, we've got it so good, and it's just crazy to think about that kind of thing. Is like this dude's got putting everything he has into these like 2-3 cows that he's got, and we just like at whatever, you just open a menu, decide you want it, and boom, 20 minutes later it's like you're eating it. It's crazy. Drinking the milk too.
So just because I had like grand total number of people asking me about you today before this podcast is 10 individual people were like, hey, who the fuck is going to be on your show? That sounds cool. I'm like, yo, just fucking wait and find out, motherfucker. They're asking me, one of the biggest questions was for you to talk about the bugs over there in those fucking places. Talk about the bugs.
Some pretty wild life, I guess. You've also, you obviously have the camel spiders are like the biggest, most widely known thing in some of the Middle Eastern countries and African countries, things like that. A camel spider, if you haven't seen one, you should definitely just stop what you're doing, pause this podcast, and Google it right now, because it's unbelievable. It'll be bigger than your fist, no problem. I mean, they're massive, massive spiders. And the worst part is they're like a cheetah. They are so fast when they want to be. And it's like, it's crazy. So you've got like huge spiders, endless scorpions, which don't really freak me out too much because very few species of scorpions are actually deadly if they sting you. I didn't know that until they were like dancing around me in the middle of a field in the middle of the night. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do some research and see if I need to strap up here, put myself in a non-sting suit or something. I don't know. So, but I mean, there are a lot of deadly types of scorpions and everything like that. Some more places than others. Arizona, believe it or not, has some of the most deadly scorpions in the world compared to compared to some of the scorpions in these countries. Yeah. Yep.
Fuck that.
It's great. Yeah, that's what I mean. So it's like, well, It is what it is, I guess. It's kind of cool to learn some of that stuff, but I mean, yeah.
Real quick, when I was in Vegas, dude, there was one in my shoe. No. So and thank fucking God. So like, there was a guy that I was visiting, and he recently passed away. Rest in peace, Ken Popelka. We love you, buddy. He was like, I was about to toss on my shoes because we were going outside to go sit by on his deck just to go sit in the sun, and I was about to just toss on my shoes, and he was like, "Just shake it out." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Did you shake it out?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't shake it out." He was like, "Shake that bitch out." So I'm like, "All right." Fucking shake it out. And sure as fucking shit, what comes out of my shoe? A little scorpion. And he goes, "Oh, it was a baby. That would have been real bad." I'm like, "That would have been real bad. Why? It's small." And he was like, "The babies can't control how much venom they put in you. Only the adults can. So it would have put everything it had into you." And I was like, oh my fucking God. So that's good to know if they were the poisonous type. That could have been. That's great.
Yeah. No, we started going out there a lot of times. So if you don't know, their venom, if you shine a black light on them, they'll light up like a Christmas tree at night. So yeah, we'd go out there with black lights a lot of times just to like see where they're at, because you'd be like walking through weeds or whatever, different things depending where you're at. But of course, naturally, in a hot country with little rules, we would just wear flip flops and shorts and a tank top every single day, and didn't think twice about things that tried to kill you for whatever reason. That was just kind of, I just rolled with it. It was kind of the least of your worries, I guess, on some days or more than others. But yeah, so like you'd see those scorpions and everything like that, pretty exotic. The snakes too, I've came across a lot of different species of snakes. Pythons, vipers, red spitting cobras, tons and tons of black mambas. Same deal there. We had a nest of black mambas right outside the bathroom on this one camp I was at in Africa. And the medics there, they told us, don't get bit by a black mamba.
Just don't do it.
Plain as day. They're like, dude,
die, bitch.
you're probably going to die, because here's the anti-venom that we have. It's just this little dose, and they're like, this will wear off in a few hours. And where we're at, we're in this super remote location. They're like, by the time that we get an aircraft here to bring you back to where there's actually an hospital, because we're on this little camp, it's just it's Alaska tents that we're staying in, so they're very limited on supplies and equipment there for the medics. So they're like, we can't save your life here. They have to pick you up in a plane and fly you several hours away to where you can actually get the correct treatment. And they're like, this anti-venom won't last your plane ride back, so you're gonna die, so don't get bit. But same deal there with the baby.
God, dude.
The babies, they can't regulate their venom. So like we had this nest of baby black mambas, and they came up through these like little holes in the ground. This like track, it was called bike track, is the stuff that we put around the camp to like walk on, like a path, so you weren't walking on rocks and sand all the time.
Yeah.
So the holes were just perfect size for the baby black mambas to come out. There's probably about a dime size, maybe penny size, and they would come up through there. And this is a blackout base at this specific place, which means no lights at night. We had a couple like red lights, real dim, whatever. Otherwise, it was like you're walking around in the dark. There was no lights to see like what you're about to step on. So you had to really watch out there.
Unreal.
So that was cool. Otherwise, big bugs, like especially Africa in particular, a lot of like crazy wildlife for different beetles and birds. We had this one bird. We called it a trash dactyl. my crew, if they hear this, they're probably going to laugh, because it was great. It was the nickname we came up for them, because they would always hang out by the trash pit, the burn pit, where we threw all our trash and burned every day. And so they would always just like go in after the fire was out and eat it. But they looked like a pterodactyl. They were huge birds. And they looked prehistoric. They were insane. They looked like a dinosaur. So that's how we came up with the name trash dactyl. And they were massive. They stood probably... They probably stood 3.5 feet tall, if not taller. Their babies were the size of like a full-grown Canadian goose. I mean, they were massive, massive birds. So like just the cool experience of like seeing those kind of animals and things and snakes and bugs and things like that. I mean, we had some hyenas. We had a ton of baboons.
Hyenas?
Hyenas, yeah. It was pretty sweet. Hyenas. It was like
That's not the word I would use.
No, it was cool because I mean we were protected. We had lots of weapons and things to eliminate the threat there. So hyenas, lots of like wild hogs, boars, things like that. Tons and tons of baboons though. I mean every single day you'd see them. They'd mess around on our equipment, our launcher equipment and things like that we launch aircraft off of. They would just crap everywhere on it and stuff like that. So it was pretty cool. For the most time, they kind of kept to themselves. They were very not scared of you. You could just pretty much walk right up to them, but you didn't want to because they could get real aggressive real quick. So especially they become real territorial if they want food or things like that. So we had to kind of walk on our toes around them a little bit. But for the most part, it was just like, sweet, the baboons are out on our equipment. As we're like walking out there, they would kind of run off and do their own thing.
Are those the ones with the colored butts?
Yep, they're the ones with the colored butts. Yeah. There's different types of baboons, but these ones were pretty sweet. I make this joke. I said, being in different like combat zones is what they're defined as. I said, being in different combat zones and everything, I joke, if I were to get PTSD, it's going to be from this one experience with the baboons. And I was crew chief in this day, so I'm outside at the launcher, like, crew chief in the aircraft that we're about to launch. And all the baboons, like, jumped off our launcher equipment, and they went over on this berm probably, like, 20 yards away. I don't know if I told you this story or not. It's great. It's great. They go over to this berm, and they're curious, right? They're curious animals, and they're watching you, and they're, like, learning what you're doing so that they know what you're doing. It's weird. It's almost creepy.
The baboons?
The baboons. Yep. So they had their babies with them, right?
Oh, fuck that.
The alpha was there that day. They had their babies. It was the whole family was there, man.
They took a trip to the launcher.
Trip to the launcher.
Kids, you want to come see them launch?
Pretty much every morning, because some of the guys, like, fed them, so they, like, always came back and stuff. Yeah. Which was cool. Again, they were pretty chill for the most part. This day, they hopped off our launcher. They're over on this berm, and I'm on headset talking to my operator who's on, controlling the aircraft. And I'm telling him, like, what's going on with the aircraft. He's telling me what he needs me to do, everything like that. And we're getting ready to launch this thing, and all of a sudden I'm looking over at the baboons, and I see a mama baboon holding her baby in one hand. No, I'm sorry, it wasn't a mama baboon. It was a dad. It was definitely a dad, and here's how I know. Holding a baby in one hand, looking me in the eye, and jerking off.
Oh my god!
In the other.
Oh!
I can't make that up, dude. That was for real. I'll never get that image out of my head. Jerking off, holding his baby, and watching me launch a plane. It was insane.
I didn't even know monkeys jerked off.
Oh, they're
I'm sure, dude. Well, okay, obviously we're monkeys, and I mean, can you even? Remember when we were teenagers? It's like a fucking 3 times a day type situation. These fucking monkeys are like, bitch, look at me in the eye when I fucking jizz.
Oh, dude, it was just so wild. So I'm like, man, that's probably the one thing that's gonna mess me up in my head the most.
I've seen some crazy shit, but there's nothing crazier than the shit I saw that day, motherfucker.
Yeah, so that was good times. Really, really cool memories just off that stuff and those kinds of things that you see that you otherwise probably wouldn't.
So when you're in those tents, did you have any sort of climate control in those tents?
Yeah, we had, there were ECUs that ran the air conditioning units. So it was just basically, it wasn't like a camping tent that you think of in your head that a lot of people that I thought of when I first heard I was going to be living in a tent for 7 months or whatever it was. It's like I think it's like 30 feet long I think it's like 30 feet long by 20 feet wide or something around those dimensions. And it's kind of like a arced, like a Quonset hut or something like that.
Like an aircraft hangar type?
Yeah, kind of like that, like the military aircraft hangars that you see. They're like the rounded, whatever, half circle kind of deal. So that's like the kind of the structure that it was. And typically how they were laid out, if they were like berthing tents, the one that you would live in and sleep in, whatever, they would either have an open barracks type of concept where it was just like lines of bunk beds, or it would just be like a hallway down the middle, a really like shoulder to shoulder narrow hallway, and then 3 to 4 bedrooms on each side, which were just plywood walls that went like about 3/4 of the way up the wall, and then a blanket for a door is what we had. Some people had doors; they were pretty high class tents, but we had just blankets for our doors. And but anyways, the reason the walls only went up, 6 or 7 feet, it was because above that it had to be open because our air conditioning units, it connected to just this like tube that ran along down the center of the tent on the top. It was just like Velcro strapped to the top of the tent, the top bar or whatever. and it had holes cut over, or like cut into the tube all the way down. So when the air conditioning unit was on, it was just blowing cold air out those to, regulate the temperature inside of the tent. So whenever ever used heat, it was always air conditioning, of course. But unfortunately, every now and then the generators or the power source would go out. And so it was nothing more brutal. It felt like you were in an oven. If the power went out and you lost air conditioning, it was hell, because it was so hot. It was so hot. You were better off getting out of bed and just walking outside where you might catch a little breeze or whatever, because it was brutal.
Just last thing about your deployment here. What was the food like while you were deployed?
Dude, it was all free. So that was pretty sweet. Free, yeah. I mean, obviously it's, government military installation type of deal that you're different bases and stuff that you stay on. So it's like food's provided for you there. And so our food was flown in. There was a UN aircraft that flew in on like Tuesdays or Wednesdays or something every week. Delivered our food. It was like 3 or 4 Air Force pallets of food. And well, it varies, again, depending on the size of your base you're on or whatever. But in this particular one, like in Africa that I was at, which is my favorite place I've been, they'd fly in your pallets of food, and then it was like a whole camp effort, because this camp was, I think, like 60, 70, maybe 80 people on it at most. So it was very small, very community style, which is why I think I loved it so much, because it was like all hands on deck, everybody helps out. So they'd get the food in there, they'd land, and everybody would just like scramble, drop everything that they're doing, no matter what it was, and they would run to go help unload this food and stock it in the freezers and things like that. So, and it was cool because like for a while we had cooks, a couple Army dudes, Aaron and Julian, they were awesome, and they would cook for us breakfast and dinner every day. But when they weren't there, we had to cook our own food. So usually they would have a different group of the camp each night cook for each night of the week. And then your other meals were kind of on your own or whatever. But overall, it's great because it's usually very high protein diets, because these people are usually in peak condition and things like that. Vegetables, sometimes you could get local source, really, really good vegetables. I had the best bananas in my life. And they were green. You eat them when they're green. They don't turn yellow. They go green to black, which is crazy. So they were really, really good.
That's weird.
So some of the fresh fruit was just insane, though, like different things like that were awesome. But you couldn't just drive to McDonald's if you want or whatever, obviously. So like you didn't even have the option to eat not healthy if you wanted to. We had like dessert food and stuff like that or whatever, Pringles or pop, stuff like that. But for the most part, it was like we ate very well, and it was simple. You didn't have to think about it. You just like cook chicken, and then you cook some more chicken, and then you cook some more chicken, and like you just eat and repeat kind of thing. So it was great.
What about, I was going to say that was the last thing, but just compare, contrast, if you can, the difference in the camaraderie between, like, friendships here in the United States, where, like, when you're growing up in high school and you're just kind of buddies with people, versus the types of friendships you see on, like, a military installation where you're in the shit together. Like, what kind of shit do you see different between those?
Yeah, I think... And there's way more people out there who have way more experience in this than I do. But just from my experience thus far, it's a really different type of bonding and camaraderie, because it's like you said, like you're in this shit. Like everybody's like, it's not, you don't really say it much or acknowledge it much, but like everybody, it sucks. Like it sucks for everybody. You're away from your family. A lot of guys are married, have kids, whatever. You're away from your families. You're away from America. All your things that you have here, everything like that, you're just kind of out there doing what you got to do. And so everybody kind of realizes that subconsciously, and it kind of brings you closer to each other, and you do things that you probably otherwise wouldn't. You have so much time to, here where you would go like bowling or something, there you don't have that option. So what you would do is you'd play cards together or watch a movie together or arm wrestle or give each other haircuts or whatever. And it was just like always such a great, strong, like just a friendly, brotherhood's a great way to describe it too. It was just awesome because like I keep in touch with a lot of guys that I've been in different countries with, and it's like you might not talk to him for a while, but you kind of pick up right where you left off because it's like,
Right.
it's such a strong bond that it's like,
Right.
it's a really cool connection.
Dude, that's awesome. Dude, that's awesome. We're almost at 3 hours, dude.
No, we're not.
Yeah, we are.
2?
We're at 2.5 hours right now.
Are we?
Yes.
We start, what time we start?
What time do we fucking start this? Are we at 1.5 hours?
Either way, we're at long way.
We're at pretty bit.
Keep going.
Yeah, dude, there's no fucking time limit on this shit. We can do whatever we want.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've got some more things anyway. I just got to piss so bad too. So it's all right. We can pause it and piss. Why don't you go ahead and take a piss quick, and then while you're doing that, I'm going to get a couple things out of the way for just real quick. You can go to the bathroom and then you can come back. All right, I'll see you in a couple. Real quick, while he's using the bathroom, I've just got a couple different things I wanted to mention. First of all, a couple different things I wanted to start doing on this podcast. God damn it, dude! I listened to my last 4. I'm sorry, man. I didn't realize that I was bitching so much. Oh my god, that's got to stop. And you guys need to hold me accountable for it. I'm going to try to hold myself more accountable for it. 30 more minutes, Bray. No, I don't know how many more minutes. Not very many more. He's just pissing so we can finish this up, and then we're going to go. Fuck, what was I talking about? I don't remember. Oh, yeah. Just staying more positive. I mean, the winter's starting to set in, so everyone's going to have their kind of sad boy seasons rolling around. That sad boy season is... We need to be proactive towards it. We need to help each other out. Remember that things are going to get harder, but we need to stay together, and we'll get through it together. So I'm going to start doing these things called a feel good story of the day every day. And then what I realized the other day, there really aren't heroes on this planet. Like, I keep watching all these fucking movies about superheroes. And, oh, this person's going to save the day, and that person's going to save. We keep looking for someone to save the day. Like, guys, there's really no one who's going to save the day. There is no such thing as a hero. There's only such thing as a heroic decision. And there are few people who decide to make those heroic decisions, some people who don't. And so I just wanted to bring up a couple things. There was a story that was submitted to me in my email. Miss Lori Wood from, I don't remember where you're from, I'm sorry, but she's a nurse. And there was a man whose name is Jonathan Pinkard. And he needed a new heart. And unfortunately, he does not have a family. He was orphaned as a child, and he didn't have a family, so he doesn't have a support system. And if you don't have a support system, you are not eligible for a transplant. So, our friend Lori Wood decided that she was going to adopt Jonathan so he could be eligible for a heart transplant. And now he is receiving a new heart thanks to Miss Lori Wood. That is the fucking coolest thing I have ever heard in my entire goddamn life. Lori, you are a fucking god. You are the person that we all really, really, really need to realize that everyone can be like you. You made a real quick, heroic decision. It changed his life. It changed everyone else's life around him. You did the shit you need to do. All right, Norby's back in here. We're going to wrap this podcast up here real quick. Before we go, what is one thing you want everyone here to remember? Just one more positive, quick little, what are we supposed to remember? How are you staying so positive through all of these hard times? What are you holding on to that keeps you going?
Ooh, it's a tough question to just wrap up in a little...
It's a very tough question.
Little message. I guess just... I think it's just the constant thought and reminder, the work of reminding yourself every single day that it might not always be as bad as you think it is. There's a lot of little things that'll just blow over. Ultimately, just try to make the best in every situation and do everything that you can to enjoy what little time we do have. I'm a big advocate of do what makes you happy. So if you don't like your job, dude, leave it. I can't stand how many people go to a job every day that they hate doing.
Fucking hate it.
You know what I mean? And a lot of people, myself included at one period of my life, you're just kind of scared to make that step, to make that change in your career, to actually go to do what you love to do. And you spend so much of your life at work every day. And I think that it's just so important, so critical and crucial to make sure that you really do what you love in a work, in a work setting, in everything that you do everything that you can do to really maximize your enjoyment in life. Because again, you don't have much time. You don't know how much time you have left, which is a scary thought to some, but it's a reality, like we talked about earlier. Everybody's gonna die. Why be down and miserable and wasted? Or not, why did I say wasted? But why be down
because it's a subconscious thought.
When you say down and wasted, because it's subconscious thought. When people are generally down and depressed, they drink more. And drinking is a depressant, and it puts you more into the spiral. And I've been there, and so have so many other people, and we're afraid to admit when we get to those positions. And, shit, dude, I have a medical marijuana card, and there was a time where I don't really smoke it as often as I used to, but there was a time where that was my fucking arch, man. I was fucking bending on it to just kind of get me through the day. And I realized the more I kept doing that, the more further away I was getting from actually being able to get through the day. You know what I mean? So I think for me too, realizing that everyone's trying to make a difference in the world and trying to be remembered, and everyone wants to be the hero of the day. You know what I mean? But you don't need to be Robert Downey fucking Jr. to be a hero. You don't need to do that to make a difference out there. Like, how many people do you think, like, let's say that you bought the coffee for the person behind you. That dude's day is a whole day. It could be a Monday, and it could be the worst Monday on the planet where everyone around him's upset. You bought his coffee, dude. He's having a great day. And it's little things like that just spread, and those little kindness gestures just spread. And I think that's awesome. And when I started doing that, and I started seeing other people getting happier when I was doing that, and then they were spreading it, and then everyone around me started just being like, hey, let's all just start patting each other and being more productive and positive and happy. I think that was a big change for me, at least personally.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more with that. Back touching on the last topic we were on, I was, I'm very fortunate to not have been in a situation where I've really felt depression or anything like that that's really brought me down psychologically or anything like that. So I think I'm very, very fortunate, and I realize that and acknowledge it, and I don't want to sound ignorant when I just talk about, being happy all the time and everything.
You're not.
And I think that regardless of anybody's situation, there are things that you can do to try to maximize the potential happiness and the joy. Your example of paying for the person's coffee behind you, like, you have no idea what they're going through and how much you could have just changed their day. You know what I mean? Just, it's little things that add up over time, and it's a total shift in mindset that really bring you to, trying to make the best of every single day, I think, is what I would say in a nutshell for that.
Fucking A, Ben. All right, we're going to wrap this up. That was Nick motherfucking Norby. This dude is a god among men. You can follow him on Instagram and Twitter, on all those. What is your handle on Instagram and Twitter?
Actually not on Twitter, but my Instagram is just Norby650. Yeah.
You can follow him on there. He's got all sorts of cool little things. He's got drone footage up there, not from like his overseas activities, but from his little personal little drone, flying around, just having a good time, little footage. He's a great, positive person. If you're looking for a little motivation in your day, just see his post, and he doesn't even know he's doing it, but he'll post something, and you're like, fuck, man, that's pimp. If he can survive whatever he's doing today, I can get through whatever I'm going through today, and I think that's a very valuable thing. Thanks for listening. It's been CloudSurfing. My name is Jake Ryder. Have a great afternoon.